something that concerned me profoundly when I heard of the request and the invitation to return was I was concerned, does that invitation include the numerous thousands in this country of our young brothers primarily who have been trapped by the government and coerced into criminality because there is no opportunity for them. And many of our young teenagers are doing life sentences for crimes on many occasions they did not commit. Crimes that they classify as joint enterprise. Just because you were present when a heinous crime took place, you get the same sentence as the perpetrator of the crime. Now, we have a colossal amount of our young people doing very long sentences. So what I want to ask is, does the government's concern and desire for Africans in the diaspora to return include negotiating with British, American, and European governments to release those of our brothers and sisters who are incarcerated so that they could finish their sentence in Africa and help to build an independent nation for themselves? Just like we go to the Caribbean, and I've seen in Jamaica, the Chinese building roads and the Chinese building all kinds of infrastructure. And they live in camps that are secured by guards, only for me to find out that these are prisoners. Like in China, they would be doing long sentences, but the Chinese government has released them from prison and they work off their time by going throughout the world and working literally for nothing, but they're out of jail. They're not in China. They can go throughout the Caribbean and parts of Africa, but technically they were life sentences and they were those who were incarcerated back in their home country. So I say all of that to say, when Africans in the UK are abused and ill-treated by the government, very seldomly do we have an intervention from an African head of state calling the UK ambassador in Nigeria, in Ghana, wherever the country may be, to answer for their intolerable behavior towards young Africans in the United Kingdom. So I wanted to have that conversation is, when can we look, because we can talk about business, we can talk about opportunities for those who are educated, but there's also a class of us in this country and many of our children who have been caught up in this matrix and have not successfully navigated through and have been caught in the spider's web. So what is being done for the leadership in Africa to claim not just the best and the brightest, but the least African here in the Western Hemisphere?
To be honest, I don't want to get too much into the political side because I don't want to speak for the president of Ghana, and especially in terms of that type of legislative. And to be honest with you, I've spent the best part of 20 years working with the UK government, and from what I do know is something in terms of prison reform. It wouldn't be so much that they would take people out from the UK and then allow them to spend the rest of their time in Africa working, the example you used as the.
But could that be negotiated? That's my point. If the will is there, could our African leaders summons British ambassadors and ministers to have a conversation about repatriation of prisoners and those who, are not serving any real purpose apart from making multinationals wealthy by building products or by making products inside the prison industrial system? So if the will is there, because if I was a successful businessman, I would be received with no strings attached hardly. But what about the least? Jesus said that when those who were with him, they were referring to him as master, master. When were you sick and we did not, come and minister unto you? When were you imprisoned? And his response to all of the good that they were doing to him was, in as much as you have not done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have not done it also unto me. So I really want to, give a shout out to our brothers who are in prison and those who are being expelled from school, who cannot find any opportunity, but they're brilliant people. Does the governments of Africa, are they willing to go on record to express their love and their desire for even those brothers and sisters, or those brothers and sisters also, to be a part of this delegation?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a valid point that you've made. But I think what would be the best way forward would be like certain groups going into these prisons and speaking and networking with these young people and changing the narrative to what they may think Africa might be or what they expect of Africa, and showing them that there are opportunities out there and encouraging them that when they do come out, there is somewhere for them to go. There are skills that they can take back there. There is knowledge that they can, put back
That's
into
a different question. But yeah, I'm going to come back to you, Abdul, and I'm going to come to you, Linda.
I'd like to answer. Can I quickly add to what Nanefi said? I want to make two very quick points. I think you asked about the practicalities of going to Ghana, who to contact. I'll say in the first instance, contact the Ghana High Commission. There's a diaspora desk there. The person in charge is Madam Joyce Cronting. If you need the contacts, I'll give my details out and contact me. I'll make sure you're in touch. The second thing about your question is, please, I'd like us to note something. There are prisons in Ghana.
Sure.
If someone comes to Ghana and commits a criminal offense, they will be arrested and jailed. Having said that, I agree that one of the things that we need to be looking at is those who have been unjustly, and it goes without saying, I have to say, the invitation to come home is non-discriminatory.
Right.
Anybody who wants to go home is welcome. That's the starting point. In terms of prisons, it's looking at what crime has been committed. Of course, if you discover, much as I love all my brothers and sisters, if I have a brother who goes to kill another brother and they have been jailed under the law, I am not. They have to serve their time. And therefore, government will not necessarily be negotiating for their release, but if they do serve their sentence and they have reformed and they're willing to come home, the gates are open. For those who have been treated unfairly, that's looking on a case-by-case basis and saying, actually, we want these skills and talents to rebuild our nation and our continent. And to touch on one thing Brother Akil said, it's a matter of building a continent. So it's not just economical, it's about bringing the skills, it's about bringing your person, it's about populating a continent and utilizing the resources that are there. It goes beyond just come and bring your money. It's a whole lot more than that. So it's a beginning of a dialogue. If you must build a family, you start by possibly getting married, having children, and they have children, and your family grows. That's what we're talking about. And as we grow, we have to cultivate farms, we have to go work and feed each other. We have to nurture each other. We need to create a family of Africa, and that's what we're talking about. Thank you.
So, you had a burning desire.
Yeah, I think on that point about building cultural capital,
Right.
essentially, and building capacity. And one of the things around the 2063 strategy is around the virtual Africa e-university. And that's something they can be a quick win with, because that's one of the quick wins. There's a network across Africa in terms of transport, but one of the things is around a virtual African university for e-learning. And so for those people who are caught up in the prison system here, one of the issues they have is around getting skill sets that are appropriate to the future. And one of the skill sets that African states collectively as the AU could be putting in place is programs of learning that Africans in prison situations can access through e-learning.
Excellent, brilliant.
That's a quick win.
That's a quick one. Very good. Thank you.
Achomi na ajele gbojokwe ni biane nyenko God Kush TV nye yiradon. My name is Na Ajele Gbojokwe and right now you're watching God Kush TV. Thank you.